what I'm going to invite you to do is just rest your eyes on there. Don't try to pick out any particular point, just kind of take in the gestalt. And make this an open eye meditation. And so just keep coming back into your body. And if you're starting to go off into thinking land, let that go as soon as you notice it. And simply come back to being with this image and feeling in your body. And imagine just this. Feel that there's some kind of a warmth in the center of your heart, in the center of your being, really. And notice that it's connected to all the others. And notice that it goes to a higher level connection, which comes from the highest. Notice that it's not about the bodies. It's about the energy connection in the stream. Find that place in yourself. You could let your eyes close. Find this point in yourself. There's a place in your internal experience of yourself where this comes. And just use your imagination. Feel it coming into your nervous system, informing the nervous system as it's flowing through to your experience of that which you call you. And just feel. Imagine what this transmission feels like for you, or more like tune into what it feels like for you. Now, if we forget about this place within ourselves, we feel cut off from the whole, because this is the point inside our consciousness where it enters. And the more we pay attention and get caught up in the five senses, the easier it is to forget this place in us. This is the place where the source of life enters into us. Jesus said, man does not live by bread alone. This is what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And so we come back home to ourselves through this and notice that we're all receiving the exact same stream in the perfect way for our own consciousness. Think about the level of intelligence that has to be behind this. It's mind-shattering. And it's all a form of love. Perfectly tuned for each one of our nervous systems in our consciousness where it is right now. You know, in the earlier days, they'd study the forest and trees, and they thought the trees were all these individual trees standing around near each other. And then eventually they learn that there's a mycelium that goes through the entire area and acts as a communication network for the trees to talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And tuning it back into the core of nature. And that's where this information for all of nature is coming from. This is us. Nature is recursive. We're not this standalone something other than nature. We are. But it's all on the inside energetic plane, the non-physical plane where we are connected. If we forget this and we look at each other as a body, we start to believe that's what each of us are and that we're separate. And then when we're separate, we get scared of something we're separate from, and boom, there goes the fear cascade right through the collective. But the moment you remember, which is not a thought, it's an ah, all of that goes away. We are I am, where I am is the name of the one. We are I am. We are each a stunning expression of the one light, refracted to be what you call you. Just feel this. Feel that. Make it up if you think you're making it up. Feel the transmission. It's quiet. And it's very consistent. And it's your personal stream of the one. We're not simply receiving the life force, we're receiving instruction, knowledge at a very deep level of who we are, what our role is here, what we are to do now, 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 now. This is the guiding force. The more we surrender the personal agenda, which monkeys with this, gets in the way of it, thinks it knows better what is good for you, the more you'll just let go of that and just, this is called thy will. The will of love, the thought system of love. The more we remember, the more we remember. The more we choose love, the easier it is to choose love. And then we're guided. Make a left here. You think you're waking up late, but we need to reshuffle your schedule a little bit for the day. Or 6 months down the line and it starts with you making it what you think is a mistaken left. The whole knows the whole. It knows the probabilities of the way time and motion of the events on this planet occur. It knows our role with regard to it. It knows where we're supposed to be for our best interest and where we're not supposed to be. Receiving the stream, being fed, deeply fed, and loved, and filled with the truth of that we are safe. Safe, we are the source of safety that is coming through here. This is exactly what is meant by seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and all shall be added unto you. Find this stream in yourself and put your attention on it. Because the moment you do, it's now free to come through your nervous system out into the world. Because you're the switch track. Right there. You're the switch of how much of this this energy stream can flow through your neurology to the world. And that switch is controlled by where you place your attention. This is becoming so crystal clear. That's all you got to do is pay attention to where you're placing your attention and choose love over and over again. And watch what happens. It will just knock you out of the park in the best way. Because this is the thing we're choosing, this stream. And the more you do, the more it inoculates you against the collective fear-based channel. This is how we attune our consciousness. Because as Bob Dylan said, maybe the devil, maybe the angel, but you're going to serve some master. And that is true. There's no such thing as neutral for our attention. It's always going to be plugged into one of two channels, always, fear or love. It makes it so incredibly simple. Everything comes from that one moment choice. Okay, welcome. Well, that was an interesting way of getting into the evening. Let's put this. Yeah. Probably said everything I was supposed to say already. We are, I am. So when Moses was up there and, got the tablet and God said to him, go get everybody out of Egypt, he said, well, who should I say sent me? And he said, tell them, I am that I am sent you. I am that I am. We are, I am. Ramana Maharshi says that I is the first thought. It's the root thought. The moment the consciousness comes online and recognizes itself, it says I. And all thoughts spring off of that, is what he says. And so that's why a self-inquiry practice consists of looking at the thought and saying, well, on whose behalf is this thought coming up for? And the answer is always, well, mine, me. Well, who am I? And he comes back to, well, I am. It's the only thing that we know for sure. No, the only thing we know for sure, I am, I exist. And so that's kind of like winding backwards from the thought back to the doorway. That becomes a portal to the one as an experience. So I am, the speaking of it is the most powerful two words you could speak, because it's the closest to the vibration of, it's like the first thoughts, the root thought, comes straight from the master vibration. And so what that means is, and it's actually powerful because of that, but it's also powerful because it's a deep identity statement, right? What are you? I am. But then what happens is in the culture, they start to go unconscious about that. Forgetting who we are, right, is to go unconscious to the recognition of that which we are. So they unconsciously start to stick all sorts of identity things after the I am. I'm a man, I'm an engineer, I'm hungry, I'm angry, I'm sick and tired. Anything that you attach to I am gets basically an accelerated boost into manifesting into the plane. So you want to watch how you use that phrase. Listen to this or feel into this. I'm going to say 3 statements and notice if you could tell just the change in the way each one feels, okay? I am angry. I feel angry. Anger is arising in the space I'm in. What do you notice?
Separation from anger in the third one.
Say again?
Separation from anger in the third version.
Right, separation of anger in the third. So
And the second one.
it's getting
It's
there.
no longer
It's
you, it's something you're
That's right.
possessing.
So, and this is exactly it. This is exactly getting to the point that I want to say. In the first case, it's a complete identification with the emotion.
Yeah.
And we have a term for that in psych terms, enmeshment. It's where your identity, the normal clear boundary of your identity is enmeshed with something that's not you. And in this case, it is at an identity level, that statement says and reinforces the belief that I am the feelings, I am the emotion. And that alone, because then we do the same thing with thinking, and we do the same thing with the body. We'll go down the line there. But at the emotional level here, this one is so pivotal.
Yeah.
It was for me. I'm going to turn off this image. When I thought I was my emotions, or the emotions ultimately, they're not even mine per se. There is no me, no mine, but I won't go that far in one step. But when I thought I was the emotions and the feelings, and the emotion coming through did not feel good in some way, all of a sudden I was not okay, right? Because I don't feel good. I don't feel good, therefore I'm not okay. And so now I've got this double layer of enmeshment going on. One, I think I'm the feelings, and that's not okay, so I'm not okay. And now I'm running this I'm not okay routine into my mind as well. I got two levels going on. And then what does that do? That gets my conscious, my whole being to start scrambling to try to control the experience. Find ways of squashing what I don't like, what I'm feeling of. That's called the root of addiction. Right? Actually, the root of addiction is one step before that, which is disconnection from the self and source. But this is right in there. So then what happens is the ego mind, which is a problem-solving machine, says this is a problem. These feelings that I don't like are a problem. And then it goes to work spending all its time trying to control and manage the inner experience, which gets in the way. Oftentimes it tries to block it entirely. And there's the root of anxiety right there. So you can see it just cascades in the problem here. A game changer came when I started to recognize that I'm not the feelings.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a conceptual game changer. I mean, maybe it starts that way. It's okay for things to start conceptual. We tend to poo-poo that in the thinking level. No, let the information comes as it's supposed to come for you. The recognition they're not the feelings or the emotions. I have them. They come through my experience, but at an identity level, I'm not that. All of a sudden, this linkage of that enmeshment in the consciousness dissolved. And then feelings can come and feelings can go without my consciousness getting jerked around. Why? Because it was a false identification. And what that does is when the false identification dissolves, and we have several of them in different ways, so you just start to see it at this level and start to let it dissolve. As it dissolves, what happens is the only thing left more and more is what you actually are, which is complete inner peace, stability, center of the center of the center, the expression of that light through a fractal called you. And then all of a sudden your inner stability is very calm and peaceful because there's nothing. The emotions come and they go. I feel them. You know, sometimes they feel good, sometimes they don't feel good. But I no longer feel like I have to contain it and control it. And you know what happens? It's just held into the greater space of what we are, which is awareness. And the Buddhists say awareness is corrective, and that is the case. And so the energy, the perturbation of whatever those emotions or thoughts or feelings are about, just get handled by the field, the greater field. And the thing called me, that ego structure, doesn't get involved with this, nowhere near as much as it used to. Sometimes it comes around and ruminates a bit about it. It goes subtle. You know, the big obvious, oh, loud expressions of it all are pretty well off the table for me. So then it has to get sneakier. So it gets more subtle and it starts to ruminate a little bit at the very quiet thought level. So that's just another level of this kind of thing. But I noticed it, and then I was like, well, I'm not the thoughts, so therefore I don't, you go do what you want. I'm going to stay here and be in my peace, in my mantra, in my whatever it is, that my choice of where to place the consciousness, right? You have to make an affirmative choice, because the nature of the collective here is gravity, like emotional gravity. And so if you don't choose upwards, now I'm piggybacking off of Marianne Williamson, you strengthen your attitude muscles, and so you're making a choice to put your consciousness upwards, because if you don't, the inertia of the collective fear on the planet will pull you more into that. Yeah, Jenya.
Who I makes the choice? Who makes the choice?
Who makes the choice? It's a really good question, because what goes on is consciousness. I know it's an amorphous term, but consciousness at this higher level makes the choice, and it comes down into our cognitive structures.
Is there a choice?
And well, but before we go there, she's always this is her favorite topic. So we're into it all the time. I'm writing a whole piece about it now. The choice is made at some level. It comes into our conscious awareness. It bubbles up from the unconscious. At some point, it kind of breaks through in conscious awareness. The first thing what happens is the ego says, I thought that. I made that choice. And so there's an I that's claiming that, but it's after the fact. And we never question it, because it starts doing that from like the day it's structured. And you know, like once it comes online, shortly after you're born, the first thing is like I. It's a narcissistic pattern. And so it's claiming ownership of everything. So I'm going to put on these videos soon because it speaks to some of this stuff. How far down this? I'm not going to call it a rabbit hole because it's a fascinating direction. It's like, how far down this do we want to go for this right now?
I have a question,
Yeah.
if I may.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I just want to clarify my own experience. When you said I am angry, and then you said I am feeling angry, and the other two.
Mm-hmm.
When I felt like when you said I am angry, that felt like that was like the very strong, this is how it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you said, oh, I'm feeling angry, or I don't remember what the other one is.
The other one is that's really abstract, right? Anger's arising in this space.
Right, okay.
That I
so
am.
I felt, so I'm just wanting to clarify with you. So my feeling was when you said I am angry, that was, okay, that's certainty and that's it. I mean, the other two seem to be able to maybe step away a little bit with more of an awareness.
Yeah.
And it felt softer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I
in real time, right? Like now we're in a kind of we're playing around with words to see the effect that it has on identity, et cetera. But in real time, if I need to express anger, it's going to come out as forceful as necessary, as an appropriate for let's say, because if the healthy use of anger is to set boundaries, right? If a boundary is being violated. So it'll come up as strongly through me as it needs to, but the words will not say, I am angry. There may not even be words at some point, and then later on we'll say, hey, we need to have a conversation, and you know, I felt really angry about that, But in real time, my own mind space has been cleaned up enough that it doesn't go there anymore in terms of that kind of a statement. If it did, it would come fundamentally from pure reactivity. And that makes a lot of sense, because pure reactivity means in that moment I would be completely in the ego with no awareness of anything higher than that, and the ego takes everything as itself and says, I am angry. So that's actually an
Yeah.
accurate statement for the way the ego speaks.
Right. Right.
And that actually adds another cautionary reason why you want to be conscious of how you use the I am.
Yeah.
Because mistaken
Ex-
identity does in fact reinforce the ego.
Yeah. Well,
It,
that's,
it, rein, yeah, it does. It puts us deeper
yeah.
into it,
Yeah.
believing it is real.
Yeah. Well, I was a little surprised myself that when you said I am angry, and before that we were talking about I am, that's who we are. And I was just surprised looking at those three statements that one just had such certainty about it, right?
Yeah.
Without having much openness or awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
It makes total sense.
Okay. I
That's
just want to make sure I was on the right track.
No, you're
here.
totally on point, and that's exactly what I was hoping you'd get out
Yeah.
of seeing the difference between
Yeah.
the three.
Yeah.
And as you go about your day,
Yeah.
you could use this very strategically. So that's in the sense of things to not use I am for.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the I am is the totality. And I mean, I'm going to divert into the video soon, I promise. The I am is the totality, which means it contains the entirety of everything. Now, if you go to the quantum level, it's the quantum field is a field of complete possibility. And then what happens is, depending on how probabilities coagulate in this and that, there's certain part of the totality that collapses into a specific instance or a specific expression of an event, just now. And so it comes in that way. So it is, let's go around in terms of health, right? Physical health, or even mental health, but health at any level, at this level.
Mm-hmm.
One practice that I do, I've done a lot of studying, kind of reading stuff up about the I am and the nature of it, and working with it as at a vibrational level. I am is the totality, period. Contains everything in there. And so when my mind starts to go anywhere into what could be considered fear of health failing, I'm pretty well assured that the older we get, the more the chance of that mind thing happening is there.
Yeah.
And especially because we're looking at everybody else, say, well, everybody is aging and getting sick, so I can't escape it. That's all part of the illusion. I'm not going to say that nobody's going to get sick. There's so many complex layers involved here, but I'm going to say what I'm going to say because it's absolutely true. David Hawkins said people are afraid and concerned about aging. So the thing they should be concerned about are their belief systems around aging. And so the collective belief systems are occluded. Let's be benevolent. Okay, they're just distorted. So when the mind starts to travel towards some concern about health, this is what I'm calling attention management. And everything rests on attention management. So much so that Silicon Valley, what do they make their money called? Their money is called what kind of the attention economy.
Oh, right.
Everything is vying for attention. Why is that? You've heard me say it dozens of times, because where attention goes, energy flows.
Yeah.
That's even true at these levels out here. But let's just come back to within consciousness, your own consciousness. Now let's come back to choice and free will. I've come to a place where I've recognized fundamentally there's one and only one place where I really have full choice. The I that I think I am, the conscious entity that is cognizant of something going on here. I do not have choice of which thought is going to arise next. I do not have choice of which feeling, emotion is going to arise next. I don't have direct choice of which events are going to transpire. But that's okay. So the more unconscious someone becomes, in other words, the most unconscious state one can be in on this plane is to think you're the ego and everything the ego says you are. And that's it. And at that point, the ego has zero free will or choice in any possible way. It is nothing more than it's not even an entity. It's a mental construct that reinforces itself through a reaction kind of dynamic. It's like a pinball machine where the ball goes and is triggering that, which triggers that, which triggers that, which triggers that. Right? And the cutesy way I've said many times is, does the name Pavlov ring a bell? And that's the way most people are living their life. That's called being asleep. They think they are choosing, but they're not. They're reacting. They just don't know it. That's an enmeshment. So that's the most unconscious state you could be in.
Mm-hmm.
As you start to wake up, the thing that matters, that really goes on here. Now, before I go here, let's go to the other extreme. There's only one thing, and Federico Faggin, the quantum physicist, is going to even mention this. There's only one thing, for lack of a better term, that has 100% absolute free will, and that is the totality of the field. It is the creator. Okay, so this is no free will whatsoever. Absolute free will. We're neither of those in reality. We're not the totality, although we are an instance of, but we're not the ego for real. But so at some point, something in us wakes up. You all know what I'm talking about from your own direct experience. However it came about for you, whenever it came about for you, at some point you go, whoa, something's different here. And now you're able to get to a place where you could go, you call it meta, right? You could start to see the objects of consciousness coming through in this awareness. And when you can wake up, what it is you're stepping into the infinite awareness. And then you could now, through practice, meditation, whatever it is you do, gradually you start to say, oh, here comes a thought, there goes a thought. Well, if the thought is there and I could see it, I can't be it. And all of a sudden, that enmeshment starts to open up. Meditation facilitates that. Psychedelics do, although meditation is much more, it's a stronger, deeper ingrainment of the neurology. So you step and you go, oh, I'm not that. Oh, I'm not that. Oh, I'm not that. Okay. So, but now what can happen is, at this level, you can start to become aware of the quality of the thoughts that come through. Now, from A Course in Miracles, and not just A Course in Miracles, but I work with that a lot, so I reference it a lot. There are basically two coherent thought systems. Coherent means it makes sense to itself. It's all in alignment with itself. There's the thought system of the ego, or the thought system of fear. And there's the thought system of love, or the thought system of God. And everything in the thought system of fear makes sense to itself. Everything in the thought system of God makes sense to itself. It turns out that if you were to take these two thought systems and turn them into a Venn diagram, which is where you could see where overlap is between two different systems, there's no overlap whatsoever. There's no overlap whatsoever. And yet, oh, that's good. It's like, I just see the download.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So we have two disparate thought systems, but yet how come it's the case that we sometimes experience fear and we sometimes experience love? What's going on in our consciousness right there? Now, it's not both at the same time. Our experience is moving, not physically, but it's you're thank you. No, we're actually in the center over here. When we're centered, we are in the center, we're observing, we're watching what we call objects of consciousness come by. Thoughts, feelings, beliefs, sensations, essentially, experiences. From this place, when we're awake, which is to say we're in awareness,
Mhm.
We can see thoughts that feel good that come through as they come through, reinforce feelings that feel good, and there are feelings that come through that feel bad. Pay attention. Basically, what it's saying is when something is not feeling good, it's tied somehow to the thought system of fear. And if something is feeling good, it's tied to the thought system of love.
Mhm.
Because as I learned from, it was just knocked me over when I learned it, which was the truth feels good.
Yeah.
Simple. What I immediately saw was how many ways my mind was denying that truth. It was denying my ability to feel good. I was
Mm.
shocked. In the same instant, I understood all of a sudden that the truth feels good. So sometimes things come through us that feels good. Sometimes things come through us that feels bad. What's going on is there's just the thought systems are coming into the consciousness. They're just free floating. They're moving through. With little conscious interaction with them, especially in the early stages of this practice that's basically coming about here in our conversation here. In the early stages, the consciousness is just more habitually tuned to fear. And again, there's a lot of momentum and inertia for it on the planet.
Yeah.
You go outside of yourself to the five senses to look outside of yourself for what you think reality is, the more you're getting pulled in, more than ever today, through the news and through the study. So what goes on is, I said ego has no choice, source has full choice. We have limited choice in the following way. From this place of conscious awareness, I could choose which thought system to place my attention on. So the thought system of fear is running, and the thought about fear of health is coming up. Okay, it bubbles in, I notice it, I see it. The moment I notice it, I choose to place my attention on one of my handy dandy mantras I keep here, because every mantra is attuned to the source. This one happens to be, I am radiant health.
Mm.
Now, the ego is going to say, no, you're not. This is not right, and this is not right in your body, and this is not right in your body. But let's talk about what vibrational truth means.
Mhm.
The source is absolute perfect health and wellness. So when I say I am radiant health, what I'm stating is a vibrational truth, which alone carries enormous power.
Mhm.
And I keep my attention focused on that. I'll use that as a mantra. Now I am plugged into the truth of this, which is very powerful because it is true. It's not dissonant. There's a coherency with the infinite power where attention flows, energy goes.
Thanks.
And that mantra is energizing the cells and tuning it
Mhm.
in, clearing out anything that's not like itself. That's what that energy does. And that's how it purifies the rest of the system. And so what happens is then I will forget. I'll go back and I get, there's another loop of the fear thing coming in, and I'll put my attention back again. And as I
Mhm.
keep doing it, right, it's like being in the gym, I'm strengthening this part of my consciousness,
Mhm.
and it begets itself very quickly because it's a positive, virtuous cycle of energy reinforcement. And vroom, the consciousness is more stable now. And then that whole fear thing doesn't even come in as much or never again. And there's the progression of how, and that's the place where we have choice, and it's the only place we need, because the energy is moving through my neurology from that, and the way the energy goes, it comes from the unmanifest through the subtle bodies into the gross body, through the neurology, and projects outwards into what we call 3D reality. And now, if it's all in alignment with the source energy, everything that goes on here is fine, in my experience.
Mhm.
Yes.
So,
Without me having to say, I need a Ferrari to be happy. Let me just
Mhm.
qualify that. Go ahead.
hypothetically speaking, everything is consciousness. Everything is source.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that exists within it is part of it,
Mm-hmm.
including ego, including
Yes.
fear thoughts,
Yes.
including love thoughts.
Yes.
So that part of the
Of the totality.
totality, this smaller part that is part of the whole,
Mm-hmm.
has an opportunity to choose something
Mm-hmm.
within it
Mm-hmm.
that was also created within it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the free will, and that's not part of it and by design anyways.
I'm not sure I get your question.
So the fact that you choose to say your mantra versus go with fear,
Mm-hmm.
is that really a choice, or is it the part of being aligned and connected with the source? Like, do you even have a choice? Like,
I'll say something. At that
Go ahead,
level,
Howard.
you have a choice. But what Eric said is, as you work it through and fear doesn't arrive anymore, there's no choice because it's no longer operational.
There's not no choice because you never had choice, or you could not have choice again if you need it. There's no choice because it's not necessary at that point anymore. There it is.
so you basically have that choice until you no longer choose the wrong thing, and then you just, that
Until it
disappears.
disappears.
And that's the interesting
And
thing.
is that the whole point?
Yeah, there's something about
There's
it.
some freedom.
There's something about it, about consciousness getting to know itself at certain levels. No, it's really an interesting thing. I mean, the name of the piece I'm writing is called "The Only Choice That." The only choice that. What did I call it? Jeez. It's pretty good, so I'm going to take a moment to pull it up here. The only choice there is the only choice that matters.
Oh, good.
And that's the whole truth about this. And so,
Mm.
if in fact it's true that this is the only place where we actually do have choice, it comes and goes for us as necessary to help keep us on track for whatever, and it's like, of what? I mean, it feels to me, what seems, and I'm sorry, Bob, I'll get to you in a sec, that we are living in the presence of a homing beacon. That's what it feels like to me. That there's something about the energy field that we are in that's been pulling us to awaken forever. And it seems to be accelerating now, but neither here nor there with that. But I'm saying that there is this that is pulling us in that direction. And so the resistance to that pull is called suffering.
Mm. Yeah.
And the relinquishment and the resistance shows up in the form of self-will, which is the ego's idea saying, I know what I need to do to make myself happy, safe, whatever it is. And then what it does essentially is it knocks the awareness of God off the throne, so it installs itself as the authority. That's what goes on. And that's how people get lost and are in their own. But what happens is even that, and I think there's just this incredible design. Who knows? If you put it into a different model, the yogis say that this is God's Leela, play, dance. It's play of consciousness. It's a hide and seek game. Consciousness plays with itself. For why? I don't know. It's above my pay grade. But if that's the case, what goes on is there is that pull to awaken. And the choice that we have at that point is a part of it because it can help accelerate. It's the place where we can say yes instead of say no, and it greatly accelerates the awakening process.
That which is not awakened is also part.
It's all part of it. It's even all of that. Eventually, it's just energy flow, right? Eventually, it's going to come in there as well, because the truth is, as you awaken enough, the encapsulation of the ego, the density of the ego, and the suffering and the pain is there to break that apart, basically. That thins out, that gets more transparent, more transparent, more transparent. And as it does, what happens is the truth of the light comes into that area that was kept in the dark, and it learns, that energy pattern learns. It's no longer a pure ego anymore. And then what happens is it starts to move from being the master, as Ram Dass say, the mind is a terrible master, right, and a wonderful servant. What it means is to say is the ego mind running on its own agenda is the master. And that's most people's experience. Then as it wakes up, and even that gets infiltrated, if you will, or penetrated or infused with the light of the truth of the knowledge of it all, it becomes a servant in the one of that as well. And then because you don't get rid of the ego perhaps as much as it upgrades its OS so it sees its true role. Yeah, Bob.
What about confusion?
Yeah.
We all get confused.
Yeah, we do.
We all go down the wrong rabbit hole
Mm-hmm.
and make mistakes
Mm-hmm.
and think we're going on the true path.
Yeah. Well, here's the interesting 22 about that. It's an inverse catch 22. You make mistakes and you're still on the right path.
Well, years later, you
may realize it or not, but the fact is you can't be.
Wiser. As
Well,
you get older, you become wiser, and that's the process of wisdom is unraveling all of that.
wisdom is learning from the what we call mistakes or errors.
Yeah, yeah.
But the fallacy is that I'm on the wrong path, that somehow the error I made, I wasn't supposed to make.
No, you were supposed to.
Exactly. And so that's my point. You cannot,
But when
but
you're
help.
in that confusion,
Yes, you just don't.
you don't know what the truth is.
No, you don't. Well, you do. You do. The truth is you're confused in that moment. And no, serious. I'm not joking. And there's something about simply saying, because I went through this.
Yeah.
When I left the tech world, I went through, and I don't know why I shouldn't have expected it, but I didn't expect having to go through what basically was a 10-month grieving process and feeling lost.
Oh, yeah.
Like I was done with tech. I was happy I was done, but still, I'm all of a sudden no energy. I'm confused. I'm feeling lost, and I'm dismayed, and all this stuff. And I was talking about it in a group of people, and it's like I feel lost. And then all of a sudden, it dawned on me. Oh, all I have to do is let myself feel lost right now. Because the moment I let myself feel lost, I'm no longer lost. I know exactly where I'm at. I feel this. And that was the end of it.
You went into it with expectations.
All this stuff. So the confusion does come. So what about confusion?
We're all confused.
Well, it comes and goes. It comes and goes.
How do you know whether you're confused or not?
All I know is I follow an inner signal now
Right.
that leads me back to inner peace.
That's your truth.
And that's it.
Right.
Everything else takes care of itself from there. That's my truth. That's the way I handle confusion.
Right.
It's like, okay, there's confusion here now. Oh yeah, look, isn't that interesting? How did that feel? And I'm just with it. I'm not trying to get out of it. I'm not trying to push it away. I'm not trying to mask it. I'm not trying to read up on stuff so I don't have to be confused anymore, because damn, that doesn't work. And so I just sit with it. And I hold it in awareness. And I breathe.
Well,
and it moves.
That's the critical step.
Yeah.
Is that you're aware that you're confused.
You got it,
If you're not
Bob.
aware of it,
Then you're just in the reaction rabbit hole.
which we all live in.
At times, no.
Most of the time.
Well, that may be your experience. No, I'm serious. I'm not being
Well-
facetious. That may be your experience, and I accept that and I honor that. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I'm saying I'm in that state far less than I used to
How do
be.
you know?
Because I feel good. Because I feel at peace. Because everything around me is flowing. Good enough for me. I don't need it any better than that.
I hear you.
Okay?
I hear you.
I don't need it any better than that.
All right.
There's no imaginary, I no longer believe that signal that says there's a goalpost I have to get to, because that friggin' goalpost keeps moving as I move towards it. It's like trying to catch up to the horizon. So I don't buy that story anymore.
Right.
I don't buy the old stories of the ego that telling me, I don't even buy any of that stuff anymore. And so it doesn't affect my energy field. And this is how it works. This is how it works.
It's not
Acceptance.
for everybody, I guess, because somebody could be like killing and stealing and feeling good about it.
Well, no, they're not. They're just in denial. No, they're serious. And sooner or later, that underlying energy in the karmic debt, it will catch up. There's no question about it. No question about it. Okay, let's watch a couple of interesting things. First of all, Federico Faggin, I love this guy, Italian, quantum physicist. I think he's in his 70s or 80s now. Something. One of the key principles of Intel, the creator of the Intel 4004, 8008 microprocessors. I mean, we're talking about serious quantum and technical chops. We're not talking about woo-woo quantum here. He started Synaptics. He started these other companies. The guy, unbelievable, real quantum scientist who had a totally mind-blowing consciousness experience happen to him in 1990, I believe. First, I'm going to have him talk a bit about that and talk about what I mentioned in the invitation called part wholes, where each of us, like just the cell, like Howard was talking about, which is a differentiated part, but has knowledge of the whole. And that's the nature of every point, if you will, on a hologram, which is the same thing about what we are. And he'll talk about how the body is both a Newtonian and a quantum machine all at the same time, which means there's mechanical components to it, and then there's quantum components to it in terms of how it all manifests. Fascinating stuff. A couple of things we'll talk about in terms of this, and then we'll see where we come to from after that. Share.
Sorry, so while you're pulling it, I'll just comment. So the only really choice there is the process and how fast you get there, because you can choose ego and you can choose fear
Yes.
for as long as you want.
Yes.
But no matter what, if you choose it, you're still part of the source and of the overall consciousness.
You can't, that's
you
correct.
basically just deny who you really are.
That's exactly right.
But eventually you're gonna get there.
Yes.
It's just the choice is how soon and how fast.
That,
and what kind
you
of a life.
totally nailed it. In fact, you pretty much said what the Course in Miracles said. Now, later on in the Course, what it says is, you're going home. Enlightenment is inevitable. It doesn't use that word, but it's essentially saying that. It said it's just a question of how much do you want to delay the trip.
So
It said in
means
your terms, it said it.
from the diagram perspective, fear is gonna be right
Oh, from the truth of,
inside.
from an energetic Venn diagram, there is no Venn diagram. It's all one. But we're talking about from thought field patterns.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay, let me play this. These are not all that long. Let me play this one, and then let's see where it goes.
Welcome to the Essentia Foundation's YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and may I ask you to like and subscribe, as it really helps us to grow our channel. Now, this interview was recorded when Federico visited the Netherlands to present his new book, Irreducible. A link to the book and scientific papers are in the description below. And in his book, Federico describes how a deeply personal experience led him to start investigating consciousness. Therefore, I found it interesting to start our conversation with this personal experience. Of course, after that, we go into the theory itself. In the chapter marks below, you can see the topics we discussed. Now, without further ado, here is Silicon hero and consciousness pioneer Federico Faggin. Federico, can you tell us about a pivotal moment in your life, namely the experience you had at Lake Tahoe, do I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah.
During your Christmas holidays of 1990.
Yeah. I wasn't happy, and I had reached everything that the world says that if you do all this stuff, you should be happy. And I wasn't. I realized that I was faking being happy because I needed to, because I was running a company. I had to be enthusiastic and everything else, but I was dying inside. So what's going on? What's wrong with this picture? And so consciousness then was, became center stage in my life, understanding that this consciousness is somehow was also connected with feeling desperate inside. So what's going on? So I wanted to understand what consciousness is. So that's when, and I wanted to understand it for my own sake, for not to do something about it, not to monetize, not to make a new technology, because before it was all about, doing something, and now all of a sudden I turn my attention inside because of the suffering. And it was in this climate that I had this extraordinary experience of consciousness. Now I can go to this Tahoe night, in 1990 during the Christmas holidays. we had a home up in Tahoe, which is Lake Tahoe is a beautiful lake, 2,500 meters, and there are mountains and skiing is great. And so, one night I woke up midnight, I was thirsty, went to get a glass of water, and went back to bed, and was just waiting for, go back to sleep, and thinking nothing. And all of a sudden, out of the chest, just energy was coming out of my chest, but it was love. And it was love that was never felt before. It was love that was coming from me. How can love come from me? I mean, it was unthinkable that love could come from me. And it was 10,000 times more powerful than any love that I felt before. I mean, in fact, I never felt that love because it was unconditional love. Now I have a name for it. It was love, period. Yes, it was coming from me, but it was love. And it was light. It was a white light scintillating. It was, like sparkles, and it was coming out. And then it explodes and it's everywhere. But it's everywhere, but my consciousness is there too. So not only my consciousness is within me, but it's also outside of me. And all of a sudden I realize I am that. So I am the observer and the observer simultaneously. But I retain my point of view. I retain my identity. I was still the same kid of 5 years old or 3 years old kid that I was then, and that I am now. And so that identity, the only thing of me that remained was that point of view. And then I realized, oh my God, this stuff is the stuff of which everything is made. Everything comes from this stuff. And my body was hard, it was vibrating, the cells of my body were resonating with this thing. Of course, the emotion, the feelings was love, joy, and peace. Because this stuff felt like, that's me, I'm at home, this is me. So I'm finally home, this is home. But so it was all mixed up, so you cannot separate this stuff, love, joy, and peace. And then the mind was aligned, saying, this is the stuff of everything is made. So I'm everything, but also the observer of everything. So I'm a point of view of one with which one knows itself. And now is the centerpiece of this new theory of consciousness that we may talk later about.
Yeah, beautiful.
I was a physicalist. I thought, basically, materialist, because I study physics, and everybody knows that consciousness comes from matter, perhaps, we don't know how, but has to come from matter. Where else can it come from? So, that was the mindset that I was. So all of a sudden, how can, no, this is before matter somehow, so this must be the beginning of it. So, that changed it. And that started me in a completely different, I went orthogonal in terms of my personal development and thinking while I was running synaptics. So that was fine, but I spent from that point on 30 to 40% of my time trying to understand what happened, and studying, doing meditation, figuring, anything that I could understand to understand what happened. But that picture actually is the end. Now I can explain with this new theory of consciousness, I can explain exactly what happened and exactly why that is correct. Every single one of us is a field that is both the observer, the observed, and the actor. Every one of us is a field, and it doesn't exist this field does not exist in space and time. Space-time exists within these fields that we are, is us. So, this changes the paradigm, right? But we need a change of paradigm, because otherwise, if we are machines, like scientism is telling us, we are going to be taken over by the machines, the artificial intelligence that people will control, powerful people will control, and through those machines they can control us if we don't change our mind of who we are.
It will become a sort of self-fulfilling
Will
prophecy.
become a self-fulfilling prophecy because we have not done the personal work to understand who we are. And we are not machines. The body is a machine, but it's a machine that is infinitely more complex than the computers because it is a quantum and classical machine. It's not a machine like a computer. Just to, it's simple to understand it. Every cell of my body is a part whole of the body. What do I mean by that? Every cell of my body has the genome of the egg that created the entire organism. So every part of my body has the potential knowledge of the whole. In this case, the whole is just the body. So we are holographic. We are holographic. We are made of parts whole. We have 50 trillion cells. Each has the potential knowledge of the whole organism. So a cell, which is a part, can change within its own life by taking advantage of the potential knowledge of the whole. That's why epigenetics exists. 20 years ago, if you said epigenetics, you would have put into the corner as a crazy guy. Okay, now we know that epigenetic exists. Why? Because every part is a part whole. So we as human beings, we're fields which are part whole of one, the totality of what exists. Same pattern repeated at different scales.
Okay. Same pattern repeated at different scales.
When was this interview?
When?
When?
A year ago.
I like how he said that it was before man.
Yes, it is prior to matter.
Right?
It has to be. I know. These days I get a kick when all
It's a simple.
flip of the paradigm. Yeah, and it makes perfect sense. The reason why I said that is because out here, you've heard me say this many times, what we call out here is really just a mirror of our individual consciousness, all converging in various ways. It's projection. This is a mirror. And the nature of a mirror is things are backwards from the reality. And the ego is fixed out here, and it gets its input from out here, and it thinks this is the only reality. And scientism, which he referred to, which is the unfounded belief that the only reality is what could be measured, 3D physical reality, and anything else is not. That turns out to be an extremely unscientific premise, because it's just accepted wholesale without questioning. Hang on. Now, it makes sense that that would be the case, because if all the input coming to us as science developed was coming from the mirror, and you don't realize you're looking into a mirror, you're going to have certain aspects of reality backwards from the way it actually is on the non-physical plane. And this is exactly what he was referring to. Yeah.
That was amazing testimonial he gave. But it reminded me a lot of the work that Ian McGilchrist is
Yes,
doing
on the split brain.
on the two sides
Yes.
of the brain, and how Western modern technological
Yeah,
thinking is all on the left side of
correct.
the brains, and we're not taking advantage of the creative part.
In fact, the right side of the brain is holistic, right?
Exactly.
And you could say it's the feminine side, and the left part of the brain you could say is the masculine side in some models.
That fit in exactly with what he was saying.
And right, and the left brain is rational, and it turns out that
Right.
rational
Descartes.
goes against the nature of reality. How do you like them apples? And so if you use that as the arbiter of reality, think about the disconnect. Now, okay, so we're part wholes. Just take a moment and let this come in. Because the whole reason why people suffer, the whole reason why things are as crazy as they are, is because they believe they are separate. Now, where was it? I think in the next video I'm going to show you, they're going to talk about it, where I'm watching go, whoa, that was my experience. I had an experience where I saw this light right in front of me here, and I've mentioned this before, and I knew this was me. Like I knew this was like the total, and he says we are both the observed, the observer, and the, what was the third thing? The actor, thank you. So here is, and I'm seeing like, I know that's me, but what's this over here? And in fact, I was staring into his eyes in that picture when it happened. And the more I started getting answers, and I was getting it, the more he smiled. And I'm watching, I'm asking this question. And what came in is, because I'm at a different viewpoint from what I'm considering me and the whole, and it feels like there's a space, a separation between the two. And the answer that came is, what this is how consciousness reflects upon itself through this perspective. And a natural artifact of this self-reflection process is this appearance of separation. So, but it's a phantom, it's a mirage, it's not actually real. And then what I immediately got out of that is, oh, so this does occur, this seeming apparent, that's the important word, the apparent separation. But it's a phantom, it's not real. So the issue is not the presence of this phantom. That's a normal part of the way the reflective process of consciousness works. The issue is that we take it to be real and act as if from that. So the belief which comes in from the ego level that takes it is the way that it then starts to, because fear comes in when you feel separate from something. Now, once you recognize your own oneness, you can't be separate from anything, therefore, it's the end of fear. That's why the two thought systems don't overlap in any possible way, right? Because in the state of love, in the state of the oneness, in the state of, there's one. You know, after we do psychedelic work with people, we spend hours after that doing what we call integration work, which is to take pieces of the experience and help build it into your practice, your neurology, your new view of things, etc. And I was on a very powerful psychedelic we were talking about before, 5-MeO, and that is, they call it the God molecule for a reason. It is an absolute non-duality medicine. And like when you're in that deep, there's just one. And I'm in it. And I'm realizing, oh my God, this is the ultimate integration. There's just one. There are no fragments. This is the nature of reality. So the only thing that makes it appear to us as fragments, we created, is by not accepting certain aspects of our experience as it flows through. And the judging mind gets on there and creates the separation and then doesn't want to own the guilt of that whole trip, so that it projects that part of the mind out. And what you get is a splintering of the mind. You get fragmentation of the mind. And that's where the suffering comes from. And so the whole process of waking up and coming back to ourself, coming back to home, coming home that he recognized, is the process of coming back into the oneness. And so as that happens, a necessary part is the healing or the letting go of the mechanisms of that fragmentation, so that the energy just is back into a unified state. And we are in the center of it. And so we experience the nature of that energy field. That's what Faggin was talking about. And in that moment, it's like the healing, in other words, the healing of any level, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, is the same. It's the coming back together, the integration of the fragments that the ego mind has created through our consciousness. There it is. It's just one. In reality, if there wasn't, the fragmentation could never find its way back. And then you think about it, how ridiculous it is, because if there is really not one, if the fragmentation somehow is real, well, what's it fragmented in? It's impossible to be separate. The separation just never even happened, but we experienced it for various reasons. I think some of it is, this is kind of like a training ground here for us, for consciousness, to learn something about this. And I think that there's something about that that strikes me as true. Okay, let me put this other one on. This is shorter.
Because maybe you were never really in the body to begin with. There's a moment, instant, silent and complete, when consciousness becomes aware of itself, not just aware of the world around it or of a body moving through space, but of its own existence. That moment isn't gradual, it doesn't build, flashes, and in that flash, something extraordinary happens, the creation of a self.
The moment that one knows itself, it has to know completely itself, because it's not made of parts. It cannot know a part of itself. It has to know the totality of itself.
This is how individuality begins, not as a separation, but as a reflection. Consciousness looking at itself from one unique angle among infinite possible directions. Each angle creates a new part, whole, a new expression of the same unified field. Not a copy, not a fragment, but a whole, seen from a different perspective. It's like shining light through a crystal. Every beam is unique, but the source is the same. In this model, life isn't random. It's not a side effect of chemistry, it's the result of awareness folding in on itself, generating complexity through recognition. That's why each conscious being feels like an I, because each one is a distinct viewpoint within the great whole. And here's where it goes even deeper. According to this view, everything that exists comes from this process. The universe doesn't just exist, it knows it exists. And because of that, it creates new layers of experience, new dimensions of expression, not through programming, not through design, but through the sheer act of self-awareness. This isn't metaphor, it's a model that explains why life can't be copied, why consciousness can't be simulated, and why true intelligence is always rooted in experience, not in data. So when we talk about identity, we're not talking about a label or a role or a body, we're talking about the field's way of knowing itself, through you. Once you understand that awareness is not a byproduct of the brain, but the source of everything, those beliefs fall apart.
Consciousness is beyond matter, beyond this space and time. It is the tool for knowing infinitely more powerful than any instrument that we have ever built.
In this view, intelligence isn't about calculating faster, it's about knowing meaning, feeling truth, recognizing beauty, things no algorithm can replicate, no matter how advanced. Even if artificial intelligence generates a brilliant idea, it doesn't know that it's brilliant, it doesn't feel it. It can't understand what it means. Only you can do that. This is the line no machine will ever cross, the ability to know what it is like to be. That's why self-awareness matters. It's not just a spiritual luxury, it's a survival mechanism, because when you truly understand who you are, when you experience yourself as part of a larger whole, you stop competing, you start cooperating, not because someone told you to, but because it's the only thing that makes sense. And that might be the most important shift of all, because we live in a world driven by fragmentation, divided by belief, identity, and fear. But those divisions aren't real. They're the result of forgetting what we are. We're not machines. We're not separate. We are fields of consciousness, each one a unique way the universe sees itself. And if enough of us remember that, something changes, not just in theory, but in how we treat each other, in how we build, in how we live. Because the future doesn't belong to the fastest system. It belongs to the deepest awareness.
This is why waking up matters. Because we are at this inflection point right now. Some people are going to take technology as their God, and other people are going to take source as their God. And I'm telling, it's definitely here. And those two groups are just simply going to have two different experiences of reality.
Interesting times.
Very interesting times. And the way you choose which of those two thought systems you're going to be in is by where you place your attention. You wake up in the morning and do you watch the news, or do you wake up in the morning and you go within and you go home and you sit and you basically sit in the truth and let it program your day for you. Let it use you where it needs you to be for its purposes. You will have two distinctly different lives, and it's all your choice. And you mentioned something about choosing fear instead of love. I don't believe anybody chooses fear instead of love. It's like, I think what it is you're either choosing love or you're not. Which is back to the point here. the only choice there is.
Yes, and also considering the fact that we have physical body that has certain ingrained physical rules of existence. Fear is what keeps brain pays attention to fear because that's how brain tries to keep you alive.
You're talking about instinctive fear, and there's a role for that, obviously. That, in fact, is the only role for fear. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about emotional fear and the reactive mind trying to stop feelings it doesn't like. That level of fear is not part of the layer that was built in for preserving the body. That
You're talking about ego trying to find a way to keep control.
Yes. I'm talking about essentially a viral insertion into the collective consciousness. And there's actually there's certain Native American tradition has a word for that. It's called wetiko, Wetiko, which is a mental virus. You can see it operating.
What tradition is that?
There's a native, I forgot, there's a book by Paul something or other, I could send you the link to it, that talks about it. And you can see it, just read the liner notes, just see what tradition, what it comes
But
from.
it's American.
I believe so. It's either there or it comes down to South America. Either way, they're
That's
all.
American.
Yes, that's right. No, only America is American. Whoa, good space tonight. Okay. Shall we sit quietly for a little while?